It's Friday, January 16th, 2026. Welcome to episode 187 of the Alameda Postcast, an audio service of the Alameda Post. I'm your host, Scott Peeler. In this edition of the Postcast, a gas leak disrupts a local school, a troubling teenage trend. A landlord gets a major surprise after a tenant moves out, a city council preview, vigils and protests, get to know a feathered visitor, and a hearty welcome back to a local coffee shop. These stories and more on this episode of the Alameda Postcast. Our top story. Last episode, it was the removal of a maple tree near Buena Vista and Walnut. This week, sewer rehabilitation near the intersection of 5th Street and Pacific. The end result in both cases, a ruptured gas line. At approximately 1:30 on Wednesday afternoon, Alameda Fire Department began evacuating people from that 5th and Pacific area, along with about 100 students and faculty at Island High School and the Alameda Child Development Center. Residents were directed to an evacuation center set up at the Mastic Senior Center, while a parade of vans brought AC/DC students to nearby Payton Elementary School. By 3:30, Pacific Gas and Electric crews were able to stop the flow of gas after dispatching crews to the scene to work with first responders and assess the damage. Residents returned to their homes and all students were reunited with their families, and both Island High and AC/DC reopened on Thursday. According to Edgar Hapita, a PG&E media representative, quote, "A third party unaffiliated with PG&E hit and damaged a 2-inch gas distribution line," end quote. Story and pictures at alamedapost.com/news.
Did IQs just drop sharply while I was away?
My favorite line from the 1986 classic Aliens, and it sums up my reaction to this next story. A viral social media trend called the Door Kick Challenge is gaining momentum here. An Alameda Police Department asking parents to talk to their kids about it. This so-called challenge involves aggressively kicking or banging on a front door to a residence to make it sound like a home invasion, and then running away. In the past year, police have responded to almost 24 incidents involving groups of young people banging on residential doors here in Alameda, according to an APD report posted Wednesday, January 14th on Facebook. Most incidents have occurred between 8 p.m. and 2 a.m. In some cases, the individuals involved have worn face coverings, which, especially in light of current events, can create confusion and concern for occupants who are unsure of the group's intentions. While this trend may appear harmless to some, it can be dangerous to those performing the challenge. As APD warned, quote, "Similar incidents in other jurisdictions have resulted in serious consequences when participants were mistaken for potential intruders," end quote. A personal note, if I may. There's a fine line between a prank and dangerous behavior. To this observer, the Door Kick Challenge definitely crosses it. Story at alamedapost.com/news. On Christmas Eve, Alameda Animal Control was called out for a surprising reason when a property manager reported a Komodo dragon left behind in a vacant property by the previous tenants. Turns out that wasn't quite the case, but close. A young ornate Nile monitor was discovered clinging to the blinds in a window. While not quite the behemoths that Komodos are, ornate monitors can grow to 6 feet long and weigh north of 20 pounds, with large individuals reaching 35 or 40. Animal Control was able to capture the lizard, deliver it to the East Bay Vivarium, a long-running reptile shop in Berkeley, which made for a very happy ending. According to an update from SF Gate, the big lizard was purchased a week later by a known customer who was actually capable of properly caring for the animal. Story at alamedapost.com/news. This coming Tuesday, City Council is back in session. On the agenda, adoption of the 2025 Zero Waste Implementation Plan update, an update on the Alameda Point Reuse Area Disposition Strategy, 2 new lease actions at Alameda Point, and the relocation of Alameda Fire Department administration. Council will consider adopting the 2025 Zero Waste Implementation Plan update, responding to City Council feedback and extensive community engagement. Unlike earlier plans, the 2025 ZWIP update does not set a fixed date to achieve zero waste. Instead, it emphasizes ongoing culture change, equity, and adaptive implementation. Alameda's waste diversion rate declined slightly from 81% in 2022 to 80% in 2023, short of the long-standing 89% goal. The 2025 update proposes 12 programs designed to close the gap, 4 programs designated as priorities, a multifamily bulky item outreach campaign, enforcement against illegal dumping, a pilot education program for low-income communities, and a Cash for Trash pilot for unhoused residents. The city is holding a workshop to update and receive feedback on its strategy for leasing and selling city-owned properties in the reuse area at Alameda Point, a historic district where the city, rather than private developers, must fund and deliver backbone infrastructure. Updated cost estimates show the total cost of completing the Alameda Point Master Infrastructure Plan has risen from $700 million estimated in 2020 to $840 million in 2025. City staff recommended authorizing 2 concurrent 60-month leases with Kai Concepts LLC for space at Alameda Point, a portion of Building 168 and a portion of Pier 1. Kai Concepts, a long-term tenant since 2013, develops kite-powered propulsion systems. City staff recommended authorizing a 5-year lease with Marina Village Office Park for space at 1001 Marina Village Parkway to house Alameda Fire Department administrative functions, consolidating fire administration, fire prevention, EMS, and possibly emergency management, freeing up space to modernize Fire Station 1. For a full preview of Tuesday's meeting and how to make your voice heard, see Karen Jensen's article at alamedapost.com/news. On Saturday night, about 100 people gathered on and around the steps of City Hall for a candlelight vigil honoring the life of Renee Good, who was shot and killed by Immigration and Customs Enforcement agent Jonathan Ross in Minneapolis on January 7th. The gathering was put on by a group of locals who felt the community needed an opportunity to mourn together. Katya Murthy, who helped to put on the event, told the Alameda Post, quote, "I think it's so important for community to come together when there's something that's so deeply upsetting happening. To have some time and place to support each other and express our thoughts and feelings rather than shut down, withdraw, feel overwhelmed and hopeless." End quote. Throughout the evening, participants held candles and signs. Periodically, the group sang songs such as "This Land is Your Land." Story and pictures in Kelsey Gore's article at alamedapost.com/news. As I reported last week, protests against the recent actions of ICE and the administration will continue this Saturday with a hands-off protest scheduled for 1 p.m. The 2-mile-long demonstration to stretch from Crab Cove to Park Street. A drone will film aerial video footage as protesters stand at the water's edge, pointing their hands-off signs to the sky. The gathering begins at 1 p.m., meeting point at the bend where Westline Drive turns into Shoreline. Details at alamedapost.com/news. If you normally spend time along the South Shore from the Elsie Romer Sanctuary to Crab Cove, you've probably bumped into some quite literal odd ducks. The small compact ducks are called widgeons. Like many species we see here in the East Bay, they are seasonal visitors, spending winters here before migrating to Western Canada to raise their young. Describing the widgeon is best done in pictures because they will interbreed with other ducks, negating a uniform appearance. To learn more about these visitors, see Marjorie Powell's article, along with pictures by Rick Lewis at alamedapost.com/nature. No word from seagull or goose as to what the 2 birds from Alameda think of our seasonal guests. After a holiday hiatus, All Around Alameda returns. Amanda Laird has rounded up the best of the upcoming events. Let's take a look. The East Bay Rose Society and Alameda Recreation and Park Department invite the community to join the annual rose pruning on Saturday at 10 a.m. at the Rose Garden at Lincoln Park on 1450 High Street. The annual rose pruning includes a demonstration. Guests can ask questions about pruning at the accompanying Q&A. Participants are invited to practice their new skills at Lincoln Park Rose Garden with the guidance of East Bay Rose Society members. Also on Saturday, Art Comes From Art Comes From Art. The opening reception at Rhythmix Cultural Works. The exhibit features 7 artists who are staff members at the Fine Arts Museums of San Francisco. If you'd like to make your own art, Mike's Camera invites you to a night photo walk with instructor Leah Frink on Saturday from 5 until 7. Meet at the parking lot at 2990 Main Street to capture amazing images of the USS Hornet and the San Francisco skyline while you learn to use your camera in low light. Looking ahead to Thursday, Ocean Hoptimism back at Faction Brewing. The subject, Saving Seals and Sea Lions. Details at alamedapost.com/alameda-life. If you want to watch the really big game on a really big screen, the Alameda Theater is showing the Niners-Seahawks playoff matchup in the historic theater Saturday evening. Tickets are $250 and $350. The Niners are 7-point underdogs. They need all the support they can get. A hearty welcome back to Spritzer's Cafe on Central after months of being closed due to the Central Avenue construction projects. The coffee shop is back in business. Thoroughly enjoyed my raspberry mocha this morning, as well as a great conversation conversation with barista TT. Glad to have spritzers open again. Hope you can join me Sunday morning at 8 on KCSM HD2 or streaming on kcsm.org for the latest episode of the Alameda Connection. My guest is Chef Henry Hawaiian, proprietor of Whisk Cake Creations and the author of the Ube Baking Book. We had a great time talking about Henry's lifelong love of baking, and I even give you the recipe for his Ube whipped cream. Good time to review Gene Chen's interview with Henry. Head to alamedapost.com/arts and search Ube. Find the Alameda Post on all social media platforms, now including TikTok. You can subscribe to us on Apple News. Sign up for our weekly news digest at alamedapost.com/email-digest. Get the Postcast wherever you get your podcasts or tell your smart device to play the Alameda Postcast podcast. I'm Scott Peeler, back next Friday with episode 188 of the Alameda Postcast.